Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode and season of the Women's Sports Matter podcast. I'm your host, Gianna Belcastro, and this is season 3. We are starting another season. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about what I've been doing in my personal life, what's coming up for the podcast, and talking about how it's been 1 year since I've started this podcast. Of course, y'all know what happens when I make an episode. We are going to head to commercial, and we're gonna just have a conversation, basically, even though I'm the only one talking. So we're gonna hear about today's sponsor, Anchor, and then we'll just jump right into things. This is Season 3, Episode 1 of the Women's Sports Matter podcast. Let's head to commercial break. Hey everyone, it's Gianna Belcastro from the Women's Sports Matter podcast, and today I'm going to be discussing the sponsor of this show, Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Gotta love that ad read. It's the only thing that I pride myself on with this podcast. I'm only kidding, everyone. Okay, calm down. I'm only kidding. It's been a few months. I stopped in March. End of March. It's now May 18th. And I am officially done with my first year of college. Yep, I am no longer a freshman in college. I am now a sophomore in college. Crazy. I can't believe it. Of course, I won't know my grades for a few weeks. They said the 27th of May? Oh, that's less. Let's see. In like 9 days. Okay, so a week and 2 days. Big difference. So I committed to a school. If you guys were listening to the podcast these past 2 seasons, I was going to a local community college, but now I'm taking my schooling career a step further and transferring to Loyola Chicago. I'm staying in my state because I honestly don't know where else home is. For now, my home is Illinois, and I don't know if my home will forever be Illinois, but for now it is, and I'm actually excited. Not excited about the weather because I'll be living right on Lake Michigan, but I'm excited for the academics, what happens on campus, possibly becoming a manager for a sports team if I get the chance, maybe working on broadcasting certain sporting events. I'm not really sure what I want to do yet. My major is sport management, but I could see myself becoming a journalist, I guess. This podcast has shown me that I can do whatever I want if I put my mind to it, which sounds like really cheesy, but I was not confident when I started this podcast. I didn't think it'd go anywhere. But I've had so many great guests on the show that I thought I would never be able to have on the show. So just to talk to some great people within the sports world has been awesome. And if you told me a year ago that I would have 3 seasons of this show, I would say that it was absurd and it couldn't be done. But it happened. And I'm so grateful. There's so many different listeners. We have a ton of people in the US and around the globe that listen. So that's awesome. I don't know how people found me internationally, let alone outside of Illinois. But I'm very thankful for everyone that has. I don't know if it was through recommendations for podcasts. I don't know if it was through social media or if a friend recommended. Let me know how you found out about the podcast on Twitter. Tweet me at WSM Podcast and let me know how you started listening. I would love to know. Gotta have the social media plug in there. And of course, I always talk about my social media at the end. Because why not? Gotta love growing on social media. I have 50 Instagram followers. Well, I have more than 50. And it's weird because I didn't think that Instagram would do better than Twitter. But I'm 18 and I don't know how to use social media. Weird, right? I have no idea how to use social media. I feel like I'm old. No offense, but I just feel really old. Yeah, so I'm done with my first year of school. I got a job. I work for a baseball team. That's right. I work for a baseball team. I work for the Kane County Cougars. It's a baseball team 40 minutes away from my house. It's in Kane County, Illinois. Great atmosphere there. And today's opening day, more like opening night, because game is at 6:30. And I work on the live streams. I pick the camera angles for the stream. I sit there pressing buttons for a few hours. And that's my job. And I get free food while doing it. And merch. Free merch, free food. And I get paid to sit and watch a baseball game. How cool is that? I'm really lucky to be able to have this job in the first place. It all started with an internship my last year of high school. And since then, I've been lucky enough to come back to that team and to work for them. If you told me in the beginning of high school that I'd have a semi-successful podcast and be working for a baseball team and picked a school to go to, I would have said that you were nuts. My confidence has grown within the past few years, and honestly, I don't know how. I've been on a few retreats within the last few years of high school that really helped me a lot. But it's also doing this podcast, being able to talk to more people, kind of letting go of my introvertedness, and also going to school next year, having a roommate for the first time. That's going to be fun for me. I also got to figure out how in the world am I going to record this podcast without people listening to me. I don't want to bug people. We're going back to 2 days per week with podcast episodes. So Thursday's episode is already done. And I'm excited for people to hear it. It's about gun violence in America. And it is scripted, and I sound really bad in that one. And it was for school. So, gotta use the podcast as a platform to talk about something I care about, which is gun violence in America. I've never been personally affected by gun violence, and I don't know anyone that has. But seeing school shootings like Parkland and hearing about Sandy Hook when I was little really made me realize how this is a huge problem in the United States and how other countries got their shit together before the U.S. has is unbelievable. I think one thing that I didn't mention in that episode was lobbying, and I have a problem with lobbying. I don't like it. I don't know too much about lobbying, but why do outside interest groups get to affect what happens in Congress? People elected to Congress are supposed to represent people, not companies or groups like the NRA. They're there to represent constituents. They're public servants, not servants for companies, and I talk about that. But maybe I should make another episode to explain, like, that part of it. I've been telling people, like, you know, if there was a spot open in my district, I would totally run for office. But I have one of the most amazing representatives. Lauren Underwood represents where I'm at right now. And she's great. So I would never run against her because I would lose badly. I would lose. It would be bad. It would be awful. I'm a supporter of her though, so love what she's doing right now. Quite the leader. Maybe hopefully she'll become a senator. That would be fun. And then I can run for the seat. I've always thought about dabbling into politics. Because I want to work for people and I'm tired of other politicians not thinking of their constituents first and thinking of their own public interest. So that's a little bit about what I've been thinking about. And I also been thinking of changing my major. I said that earlier, maybe becoming a journalist instead. Here's my options. I work in sports, I work as a journalist, or I work in politics. If something else happens, then I will not be seen. I can't see the future, so. But I hope it's one of those three. Also, lawyer floated around for some time, but I don't think I'm confident enough to be a lawyer. But it could happen. Those 4 things. So many to choose from. Anyway, let's talk about the future of the podcast and what's coming up. I have some interviews scheduled. I have 3 interviews scheduled already for this season. And I can't wait to add more. I also am super excited to talk about the Olympics. I love the Olympics so much. I grew up watching the Olympics. I remember when I was very little, I watched the Summer Olympics by my grandmother's house. It was like this white box TV in her living room. I was watching ice skating, so it might have been Winter Olympics. But I was just so mesmerized by how all these athletes from across the globe were like crazy good at all these different sports. I was there's like no word to describe the Olympics for me. The only thing I don't like about the Olympics is not being able to protest. Things happening across the world. Like, the Olympics said that there would be penalties for protesting about Black Lives Matter. And obviously there's other issues to talk about, of course. Like right now, Palestine is under attack from Israel. And if I'm educated enough, in a few weeks, I will make an episode, or I will ask someone else to come on the pod to talk about it, because I know it's not my place to talk about it, but I also feel like I need to talk about it. I in a lot of the papers that I write, when it's like personal pieces and it's about like educating others, I always talk about how knowledge is power. I grew up watching School of Rock. Not School of Rock. No, I really want to edit that out. I am so embarrassed right now. It's 12 a.m. I started recording this on the 17th, and now it's the 18th, because I know I'm not going to record it later in the morning. I'm tired. I took a final last night, and I'm tired. I grew up watching Schoolhouse Rock because my mom loved it. And the theme song of that has knowledge is power in it. And that is something that I live by. It's one of my favorite things. My favorite quotes. And I'm still embarrassed by saying School of Rock instead of Schoolhouse Rock. It's 12 a.m. and I'm upset about this switching up two different things. Completely different things. Both involve music, though. Anyway, love Schoolhouse Rock as a kid. And fun fact, I've never seen School of Rock. It's 12 a.m. Because I didn't record this podcast yesterday. So I decided to do it now. Because I told myself the podcast would go up on the 18th. And it is going up on the 18th. School is over. Almost. Basically. School is basically over. Anyway. Interviews are being set up. Topics are being picked. WNBA and NWSL are back. The NWHL is having a mascot making contest. That's cool. Candace Parker is killing it for the Chicago Sky already. Can't believe it. The Chicago Red Stars are doing terribly. I'm so disappointed. And Chelsea lost like 4-0 in the Champions League final. And I'm talking about the women's team. I'll make a whole other episode talking about Chelsea in general. But I just want to talk about how Barcelona became the first club to ever win both Champions Leagues, men's and women's. That could have happened with Chelsea, but no. He had to lose 4-0. And then Chelsea lose the FA Cup 2 years in a row to Arsenal and Leicester City. Are you kidding me? It was a terrible night to be a soccer fan of both Chelsea and the Red Stars. Now, on social media, people are calling it the Sam curse, and I think it's not funny. That's not funny at all. That is Sam Kerr slander, and I do not accept it. Huge Sam Kerr fan. All I want to say with that. I'm so disappointed what's happening in soccer right now. My teams are losing. I had high hopes. Actually, no, I don't want to lie. I really did think that Leicester City was going to beat Chelsea. I hope that Chelsea wins the Champions League because I did beat Man City the other day. Not excited for the Champions League final between Man City and Chelsea because that is going to be the death of me probably. I'm going to sit and watch that game, and I will cry if Chelsea loses. I just want to see Mason Mount win the Champions League. Is that too much to ask? I wanted to see Mason Mount and Sam Kerr win the Champions League. That's all. And on the note of women's soccer, Fran Kirby had an incredible year, and she's just, first of all, an incredible human being and an incredible soccer player. No doubt about it. She's so cool. She's my wallpaper on my phone right now, because I love Chelsea that much that they're my phone wallpaper. Not even the Red Stars of the sky. No, it's Chelsea. Up the Chelsea. So that's just the stuff I wanted to talk about. Let's see if there's anything else. I don't know when the season will end yet. Honestly, I might do it before school starts for me. Or I might do it at the end of September. I don't really plan out stuff, because that's not how I roll. If I feel like ending it, I'll end it. If something like bad happens or something weird happens in my life, then I gotta pull the plug on it. Not much coming up for me right now. I work nights, except on Saturday games or Sunday games. Those are like 1 p.m. start time. So I'm just living the dream by working for a baseball team and seeing free baseball and getting free food. Just what a dream. I grew up watching the White Sox, and now I work for a baseball team. It's not the White Sox, but like semi-professional baseball is good enough for me. I love my job, and it's so fun to be there and to work for a baseball team. So exciting. And this team is pretty good. The 2 home games that they had in the preseason, they did not lose, but they also hit like 5 people in the second game, so I don't know what that says about the team. That one pitcher was bad, but that's fine. I think that is going to be all that I talk about today. Again, Season 3, what's up? How's everyone doing? I'm excited, but I'm also really tired, so I'm going to go to bed now. It's 12:11 a.m. on May 18th. I can't wait to see what comes next with this podcast. Who knows what kind of guests I'll have on this season. Who knows if an episode will blow up or whatever, if it's like, I don't even know. I want this podcast to be successful. This is a hobby. I love it. It's so much fun. But that's going to be it from me. Oh, I forgot to talk. It's been 1 year. That's what I wanted to talk about. The last thing. It's been 1 year. On May 5th, I think, or May 6th. I don't remember. It's late. Was the 1 year anniversary of the podcast, and I can't believe how much we've done in that short amount of time. Yeah, there's been 2 seasons, but here's a third one. And there's not going to be any special logo for 1 year anniversary or anything, but I can't wait to see how long this podcast will run for. Maybe throughout my whole college career. Who knows? Maybe it'll become a big deal or something. I don't know. Just it's a hobby that I love doing, and I hope to keep doing it. Thank you all so much for listening to the podcast, of course. For all my international listeners, thank you again. Of course, thank you to my family members who listen. I hope y'all are subscribed to listen every week, twice a week, every week, until I say no more. I didn't want to do a trailer for this one because I didn't know when I was going to start it up again. So, surprise! New season alert, Season 3. Happy to be here. I may not sound happy because I'm tired, but I'm happy to be here for real. Can't wait to do some of these interviews that I have planned, and I can't wait to plan out more. Thank you all so much for listening to another episode of the Women's Sports Matter podcast. My name is Gianna Belcastro, and I'm your host. If you want to follow me on social media, you can follow me on Twitter at WSM Podcast, and on Instagram, it's Women's Sports Matter. Have questions about the podcast, have suggestions, or want to come on my show? My email is down below. Also, please get vaccinated if you can. There's no microchips in the vaccine, I promise you. We just want to reach herd immunity in the United States and around the world. Plus, the more people that get vaccinated in the United States, and once we reach herd immunity here, we can send these vaccines overseas. I don't know why people are being stupid. My whole conservative trumpet side of the family got vaccinated, and they think the election was stolen. So, if that's not one reason to do it, I don't know what reason it is to do it then. I am fully vaccinated. I got Pfizer. I talk about that in the episode on Thursday. I just can't wait to return to some sort of normalcy. My school is having only vaccinated people on campus. I guess they can do that because they're a private school. So that's fun, which means no more masks. I'll be able to interact with people without having to guess what's below the eyes. Yeah. Can't wait. Yay, social interaction. There's also really bad stuff happening in the world, and I will talk about it in some episodes, but it's also your job to educate yourselves. So please look up what's happening in Palestine and Burma and India and Colombia. Just awful, awful stuff happening to people there that shouldn't be happening. That's going to be it from me. I can't wait to do this season and make it awesome. So I'm going to go to bed now. But I hope you have a great rest of your day, whatever time of day you're listening to this. Thank you again so much for listening. I will see you Thursday for the episode about gun violence in America. And that's all, folks. See you next time. Bye.